Hello and welcome back again to Soul Anarchy. This is a deck profile of my friend Masood's DarkWorlds. Now, I'll let him introduce the deck and how it works.
Okay, first of all I'm going to start off with Morphing Jar. Right. We all know what Morphing Jar does, so basically that's really good for DarkWorld because you get to draw 5 cards and get rid of your hand, and that's the best thing for DarkWorld. Card effect.
Next up.
Next card is Trench Archfiend. Again, it's a good fiend card, lets you discard a card. As DarkWorld you have to discard a card for their effects more or less. So it lets you discard a card. On top of that, he gains extra 500 for each discard. So that's extra 500 and he gets a level up, I think.
No,
he doesn't. It's the other card. So that's 500, 2000 attack. That's good. Next up
that's
is...
plus an extra 300 thanks to gates.
Yep. Next is Fabled Raven. How DarkWorlds love that card. Basically lets you discard as many cards from your hand. He gains like 1 level for each discard and 400 attack power for each discard card. So let's say you got 5 cards, 5 levels. And on top of that, it's a good tuner card for tuner monsters if you got any. And 1 level up each time, so it's a pretty good card for DarkWorlds. Next up is, we all know, Cerelu, the guru of DarkWorld. It's basically, I run my deck around this more or less because he is really helpful for second effects for DarkWorlds. If you discard this card from your hand, it goes on your opponent's side of the field, and if it's on your opponent's side of the field, his effect kicks in, which I have to discard a card. So technically it's opponent's discard a card, so when I discard a card, it's my second effect I can use as well. So I get my first effect and second effect.
So you can get off Silva's effect to make them...
You got Silva's effect,
yeah.
Make them discard 2 cards from their hand to bottom of their deck.
And
Gold's effect,
yeah.
Destroy 2 targets, and...
Silva, who is Discharge, and because of the opponent's card effect, he special summons 1 monster from your opponent's side graveyard.
Yep, and especially since DarkWorld you're running Graphos more or less, their second effect is basically choose 1 random card from your opponent's hand. If it's a monster, I get to special summon on my side. That's really good.
That's really good for shutting down a lot of plays.
Oh yes, it is. And another awesome thing about that is Rainbow. I use my Rainbow in this deck more or less. And not many people actually use Rainbows in their DarkWorld. And I can actually summon Rainbow with this effect, and Rainbow's effect is basically destroy all monsters on the field or all spell trap. So basically it's a Dark Hole or Heavy Storm just for your opponent.
Well, it's more Raigeki Harpy's Feather Duster since it's only opponent's side. But
yep.
Next up.
Next up is Bro.
Only 2 copies.
I only keep 2 at the moment. I have another one in my side deck. Basically it just lets me draw a card every time this is discarded, and it's good for bouncing back Grapha.
And with discard by an opponent's card effect, you draw 2 instead.
Yeah, with Cerelu's effect, that's 2 draw power, so if you're going for draw power, must have. Next up is Beige. I only use 1 at the moment because I mainly use it to keep bouncing back Grapha. Discard this, goes back on the field, bounce it for Grapha. Normal summon, bounce it for Grapha. Discard it again, bounce it for Grapha. It's a good card to bounce card. And next is Snow.
The Unlight of DarkWorld.
The Unlight of DarkWorld. Basically, second best card in the DarkWorld after Grapha. Basically, you discard this card and you can search for any DarkWorld cards in your deck and add it to your hand. Doesn't matter if it's spell, trap or monster, any card. Second effect after Cerelu's effect or any opponent's discard card. His second effect is really good because if your opponent has a really good monster in their grave or any monster on the grave,
like Neo
Galaxy Eyes or any monster, you can use second effect, special summon it to your side of the field in face-off defense position, which is really good. Next up is Silva. I only use 1 at the moment. I've got more in the side deck if I needed to use it. Basically, he discard it, and his special summon on your side of the field. And his second effect is basically if your opponent discard a card, that's his second effect. Your opponent discards 2 random cards from their hand to bottom of their deck. So I use him with Srelu a lot.
And they don't actually draw cards as well. It's literally minus on them completely.
Yep. And another one is Gold. Running 2.
The Woo Lord of DarkWorlds.
Yep, just running 2. Got another one inside deck if I need to use more. The reason I've only got 1 silver and 2 of these because recently I've been getting a lot of them in my hands in one go, and you can't really do unless you discard cards. So if you run 2 of these and 2 of silvers, that will do you a lot good. So basically their effect is you discard them and they're gone. You can they're special summon from the graveyard. Second effect I use with Srelu again. As you can see, Srelu is probably the best card, and I run that. Second effect is your opponent's if it's discarded by your opponent, the second effect is basically destroy 2 cards on the field on your opponent's side.
Yeah.
So it's really good to get 2 cards on your opponent's side of the field.
Destroyed.
Destroyed. Gone forever. Next up is Rainbow. Running 1 at the moment, another one on the side deck again. Use it around Srelu. As I said earlier, his effects is really good. If you discard him, he's a special summon. If it's opponent's discard, that is. Special summon, you get a choice of destroying your opponent's back row or the front row. Basically it runs as Dark Hole or Heavy Storm, just for your opponent, not yours. And it's really, really, really good card to have if you're running Srelus a lot in your deck. And then we all know Graphos, the best cards in the deck, and if you don't have Graphos, you're not really a Dark World player. Basically you discard Grapha, target 1 card on the field, destroy that card.
On your opponent's side.
On your opponent's side, yes. If you run it with Srelu, second effect, opponent discard card, the second effect kicks in, which is select 1 random card in your opponent's hand, and if it's a monster you get to special summon it on your side. If it's not, they keep the card. Surprisingly, I've managed to get some good cards off my opponents. For example, Galaxy Eyes and Blue Eyes, all those cards on my side, and they're like mad. So
and his last effect is to bounce himself from the graveyard.
Oh yeah, he's to summon him basically any Dark World card you got in your field.
Except for another Grapha.
Except for Grapha. Any other than Grapha. You can bounce it back for Grapha. So if that's in your graveyard, you got, let's say,
Rainbow.
Let's say you got any Dark World card in your guard, back to your hand, summon. Best thing is, make sure you use a good card to bounce it back, because you can use the card's effect again.
Or just doing the entire Cerulli play, which is new to any bottomlesses.
Yep, I'll get to that as well. And then that's all for my monsters. My trap cards. Reckless Greed.
That's 3.
I run only 3 trap cards. At the moment, I have more in the side deck. Basically, set them up, more or less use it in your next turn. If you get a chance, try not to chain it, because if you chain it, you miss your next draw phase. But if you use them in your next turn in your draw phase, you get extra 1 card. It's good for draw power, more cards in your hand, and that's what you want in DarkWorlds. Next up is Card Destruction. Best card for DarkWorlds. You need to discard your entire hand, more or less all your monsters to get their effect. Discard your entire hand. Make sure you try to set your trap, spell and trap on the field before you use that, because you want the effect of monsters, not the spell cards, because there's no effects. Next off is Foolish Burial.
Oh, this is interesting.
Yes. Not many people actually run Foolish Burial. I find it really useful. It helped me a lot, because if you get that straight away in your hand, when you draw, you just throw your Grapha from your deck to the graveyard, bounce it back on the very first turn. Happened to me a lot of times. Here's a card that no one actually ever used in Dark World. Not that I've seen of, they probably do, but I have never seen anyone use this card. Basically, you send one card from your hand to the graveyard to special summon one level 1 monster from your deck.
Oh, so you get your Cerulean straight away.
Basically, more or less, I use it around Grapha. Throw Grapha, get Cerulean out, bounce Cerulean back for Grapha. One turn, get Grapha out straight away. You still have Cerulean in your hand. You get your second effect of Cerulean because you have it in your hand. Best way to get Cerulean from your deck to your hand. Next card is the Cheerful Coffin.
Well, this is an interesting choice.
It actually is. It's, as again, a lot of people actually hate that in the DarkWorlds. I've noticed that. I've played a lot. And basically, you can select up to 3 cards, monster cards in your hand, and discard them. And you actually get their effect with this card. It's not really a cost. So,
Okay.
you got 3 cards, you can send 1, 2, or 3, up to 3. So, Cerulean, make sure if you got 3 monsters in your hand, and you got Cerulean there, make sure you keep 1 monster in your hand, because you want the effect of Cerulean for your opponent's discard card, so you get second effect. Next is Lure of Darkness. Everyone uses it.
I don't.
You don't?
No.
Well, more or less, a lot of people do use it. Basically, it's for draw power. You draw 2 cards. If you got too many monsters in your hand, you might want to use it, banish 1, just to get something playing. So it helps you draw 2 cards if you need it. Next off, Advanced Draw.
Another interesting choice, actually.
It actually is. It lets you actually have to tribute your level 8 monster and draw 2 cards.
Okay,
Lets
so
you
you
draw
tribute
2
your
cards.
Grapha and you
You
draw 2.
tribute your Grapha, bounce the Grapha back on the same turn. So basically, you're not tributing anything. You get 2 cards.
Okay, that's actually quite an interesting idea.
It actually is. Yep. Next up is Dragged Down into the Grave.
Only one.
Only 1 at the moment. I'm looking for 2 more. I'll put them in my deck once I get
They're
them.
expensive enough to find, so good luck.
They actually are, yeah. So basically, the effect of this card is both players look at each other's hand and discard 1 card from each other's hand and draw a card. So basically, it's a good card to actually get your effect off your monster, and you get to draw another card, and also you get to see your opponent's hand, and you get to get rid of their best card.
Or just get rid of Exodia piece.
Oh, that too. That works well. Zodiac, instant win. Unless I'm running monster who want to get Exodia back. Wouldn't say it work. Next off is Darkwood Lightning. Best cards to get rid of their back row, and you discard a card, get their effect. Basically,
Well, it's also monsters as well, because it's one face
yeah, it's
down
face
card.
down card, so anything on the field, including your own. If your opponent does not have any face down card, you set 1 card, destroy it, you get to discard a card. That's what you want in Dark World, discard card effect, and your monsters need that. Next off is Dark World Dealings.
Staple.
Basically, every deck wants it. Almost every deck wants it. It lets you draw a card, and for Dark Walls, discard a card, get the effect.
Well, it's just draw one, discard one for
Yeah.
both players. So
For
it's
both players.
really good at destroying opponent's hands too.
Opponent's hands plus your effects of your monsters. Good for draw power. Next off is
3.
Upstart Goblin. Basically lets you draw more. Your opponent gains life points, but you're getting the effect of your monsters. You're going to kill your opponent anyway. So
Yeah,
it lets you
'cause
draw more cards.
Grapha's a 3000 attack monster,
Yeah.
and you can easily get him 3 of them out.
He's
so
gaining 1000, you get Graph out, he's 3000. It's worth it. Next off is the field cards. The Gates of the DarkWorlds. Basically, that's your field card. Gives your monsters, Fiend type monsters, 300 attack power
and defense.
and defense. And they have an effect which lets you banish a card from your graveyard to discard a card and lets you draw a card. So you get draw power and discard power. which is really helpful. And basically one of the main things you run in DarkWorlds. That's for my main deck.
And now extra deck.
And my extra deck.
Still working on it.
Still working on it, haven't got much. Dark Highlander.
Oh, this is a mean card.
It actually is a main card. You just use your Fabled Raven and then any other Dark World card other than higher than level 7, of course. And depending on your Fabled Raven, he's 2 stars. So you pretty much got your gold, silver, snow, even railway, depending on how many cards you discard from your hand.
Yeah, typical play I've actually seen with getting him out is to play Fabled Raven and then just simply discard only beige.
Yeah.
Because Fabled Raven becomes the level 3,
And
so
this
you
is
get
always
your...
summoned from grave if you
Exactly,
discard.
so you become a level 7
Yeah,
instantly.
even if you, every time you use his effect, he gets 1 level up. So even if he doesn't, you can use your gold or silver also to get him out. Next off is Neo Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon. Basically I use him for his attack, of course, and his second effect.
Well, you don't really get second effect off much unless you steal one of their guys. But I guess you use it more as just attack over their big monsters.
No, his first effect is with the Galaxy. His second effect is if they got materials attached, detached materials, he gains attack power. Good card for his effect.
He's a 45 attack monster as well.
Indeed. And third card is that. Use him.
Heliopolis.
I don't like calling his name.
Heretic Dragon Overlord of Heliopolis.
He scares me.
He's an Egyptian dragon.
Yes, he scares me. He scares everyone. More or less. So basically, use him, Synchro Summon, or XYZ Summon, 2 Graphas. Use his effect for Grapha. Because you're using Graphas, you can bounce them back. If you detach a material, it goes back to grave. And you know what happens once the Graphas in the grave? Bounce him back to next, or in the same turn, if you can. And his effect is, once per turn, you can detach 1 XYZ material.
And tribute any number of monsters from your field or your hand. And destroy that many targets equal to the amount you tributed.
Yep, so basically, let's say your opponent's got full field, you got only this. Detach 1 material, you got 5 cards in your hand, destroy 5, discard 5, destroy opponent's side.
Well, it's not actually tribute, so you don't get
it's a tribute.
Unfortunately.
You don't get effect, but still tribute. Even say, I think you can tribute even spell cards.
No, monsters only.
Yeah, monster. So even if you have monster on your side, you can even tribute them to destroy your opponent's good card. That's my extra deck.
But yeah, thank you, Masood. This is actually a really nice deck. He does win a lot with this.
Yep, I do win a lot with this.
Although he does not like Fire Fists or 6 Ams.
Indeed, that's true. I have to get my way around it. I haven't played with them much. That's why. Once I play with them, I'll win more.
Yeah, sure you will.
Of course I will. I'm getting around. I just need a few more cards.
Yeah.
Then again, everyone has different tactics for DarkWorlds.
Yeah. Well, that's Soul Anarchy for now. So, catch us next time.
Right?